How do you know if someone was sent to serve your business or to teach you a lesson?
Well, there's kind of two. There's I guess there's three scenarios when you're dealing with people. Scenario one is the dream scenario. They're here to help you, to serve you, to help you build your mission. They're going to be along for the ride. They're going to get in the trenches with you and build with you. That's scenario one. Scenario two is they're sent here to challenge you. And sometimes they're sent by the man above, and they're here to test you, to challenge you, to skill you up, and to see if you're ready for a new level. And so those are good people, but they're sent with a tough lesson. And then there's the people that have been planted in your garden like weeds. And these are the people that are here to stop your progress, to undermine you, and to destroy you. And the enemy will plant weeds in your garden. And you won't know which is which. You hope they're going to go long term, and these are your ride or dies, and you're going to build with them, right? You hope that's the one. But you then often find out, no, this person's here to challenge me and test me. And that's a good thing. I need to be challenged and tested. That's how I grow. Or this person's here to destroy me, to undermine me, and they'll stop at nothing to try to stop the progress that I'm making. And they're planted by the enemy himself. And in the case where they're planted by the enemy, you gotta learn to pull them weeds out quick. In the case where they're here to challenge you, you gotta determine how long you wanna learn that lesson for until you upgrade to some new lessons. In the case when they're here to run with you, you gotta keep them motivated, accountable, compensated, and happy to run with you, because you could screw that up too. So those are the three scenarios when you're spiritually hiring people. I have a question for you.
All right.
If your business doubled right now, would your peace double or would your anxiety double? Because if it's your anxiety that doubles, you have some work to do in your business. You've designed it wrong. You need to redesign your business so that way it gives you life and brings you peace. That might mean that we have to change out your team. That might mean that we have to change out your workflows, your process. We might have to stimulate innovation in your environment. We might have to cut costs. We might have to launch new initiatives. But we got to make some changes, because if you can't double your success without doubling your anxiety, you're in a prison. If I was to write a new book today, what would the book be about?
Yeah.
Love. My story is a love story. God loved me so much that he pulled me out of the darkest of days and healed me in ways that I never dreamed possible. Healed my son. So my book is a love story. God loving me and me loving him in return. So that's what my third book will be about. When I wrote the book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, was there anything to lose? I mean, of course you could lose your life, but the idea that you have nothing to lose is a very powerful idea, and the mindset is very powerful. In fact, it is said that the most dangerous man in the world is one with nothing to lose. So when you have that mindset, it's really the embodiment of the hustle mindset. And that can get you to some pretty tall mountains. And it certainly got me up to some tall mountains. And there's nothing wrong with that mindset. But there's other mindsets that you can try on that might be more enjoyable, more life-giving than the hustle mindset. There's nothing wrong with the hustle mindset. And in fact, I needed to master that mindset before I could move on to master the next mindset. Most founders don't even know that they don't need more strategies. They need more clarity. They spend all this time reading these books and following these gurus when they need spiritual clarity. They need to know if they're on path, what their calling is, if they're being obedient. The game is spiritual. They think it's strategic, but it's really spiritual. I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs that they scale up and they self-sabotage. And I can see that they get a new level. So there's a formula for entrepreneurs that's interesting. They pray for growth. They want a big business. They want their business to grow. They want more revenue, more money. They want more profit. They get that blessing, and it comes with more responsibility and more stress and tough decisions and more financial consequences and more risk, and they crumble underneath that. They literally will lose their minds. And the reason why is because they haven't built the vessel to support the new level of business. So as you pray for growth, you got to build the character to hold that growth. And that's what most entrepreneurs miss. And that's why you see them scale up and fall apart, scale up and get addicted, scale up and get a divorce. They scale up and they run into all of these problems. And it's just simply, they haven't built the character to hold the level of company that they prayed for. And so you have to be careful what you pray for. And if you do pray to have a big business, you better get to work and make sure you got a big character to support that big business.
So what do you do when you fall out of love with the business you built?
It's impossible to fall out of love with something that God told you to build. If you're building it because you were called to it, you've fallen out of love with it because you haven't cultivated love within yourself. I could be in love with this. I could be in love with this. I could be in love with anything, right? Love is an energy. Love is a perspective. You can find love in every interaction with every human being. How come you can't find love in your business anymore?
I think most founders, when they build a business, they're like on fire. They love it. And then after a while, they fall out of love with it.
Yeah, because it's hard. Same reason why people fall out of love with their significant others, because it's hard. Life is hard. Business is hard. You gotta fall in love with the hard.
What's one habit you wish you built before your first million?
The ability to hold on to $1 million. Yeah. What's one habit I wish I built? What's the question?
What's one habit you wish you built before your first million?
I have a different relationship with money than most people. It doesn't, it's like a score. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's a game that we play. How well our business is operating is a game. It's an economic model that we've built. And yes, that provides livelihood to myself and my family, and I'm very grateful for that. But if I'm making $1 million a week, that phases me very little. If I'm making $2 million a week or $10 million a week or it's just how well you're playing the game. If you want to make $1 million, you have to. A lot of people they say negative things about this whole idea of acting as if. I want to tell you why spiritually acting as if is actually a good thing. When you act as if, as I did as a young man, I acted as if I was a millionaire. I put on a suit and tie. I showed up to meetings. I was prepared. I was proper. I communicated. I dressed the part. I acted as if. What I was doing spiritually was I was in the frequency that I wanted to receive at. I was in the frequency of $1 million before I had $1 million. And so I was available for that money to come, and it came, and it kept coming because I put myself in the frequency right away. Because I didn't buy into this whole myth that $1 million was a lot of money or that it was hard or any of that stuff. I just said, I'm gonna be a millionaire, no doubt about it. I already am. I walked in that room, I was already a millionaire. The check just hadn't cashed yet. The mind is a tricky thing. We tell these stupid stories, these low-level, limited belief. All day long we tell these stories. This person doesn't love me, I'm not good enough. This person doesn't respect me. This person thinks I'm stupid, I'm not enough. My parents don't love me. I had this difficult time. We just tell these stories. My last boss was this. All day long people are telling stories. And so when you meet enough people and you've told enough stories yourself, you start to realize that it's probably best if I take control and start writing my narrative and start telling the story in the way that I want. When you've told enough stories and you've seen enough people tell stories, you start to realize that it's time to write your own story and to take control and craft a narrative. And if you're going to craft a narrative, it might as well be a great narrative. It might as well be a heroic journey as opposed to a narrative of some sad story, because the world has enough sad stories. You might as well tell a compelling, amazing, inspiring story. If you're going to tell a story, you choose. It's going to be a negative one or it's going to be a positive one. It's up to you. You're the writer of your own story.
Many founders, much like the president, end up working in isolation. What is your opinion on them talking to the janitor, to talking to the doorman?
Sometimes when you're building your company, you build a trap. You get people, you surround yourself with people that aren't going to push back on you. They're going to tell you yes. And that becomes a lonely life. And it's real easy to design unintentionally. And so you have to have intentional design in your relationships, in your business, and then you don't get into that trap. But it's real easy to accidentally design something that traps you. And it's really hard to get out of the trap once you're in it. or to even recognize that you're in the trap. And oftentimes they get in that trap, they try to just work, they're beating their head against the wall, and then it's soul crushing, and they fall out of love with their business. And then they have to sell it, shut it down, or walk because they inadvertently designed a trap. There's no playbook on how to design a business with spiritual intention. There's plenty of playbooks on how to design a business that makes money, but you can design a business in many different ways. And just because it makes money doesn't mean that it's going to make you happy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, help boost this video. I want to get the word out about my work and I could use your help. Thank you so much and God bless.